Nashville Rocks. You're listening to the Nashville Rocks podcast. Your source for independent music in Nashville and the Mid-South. Nashville Rocks. Now, your host, Jason Coleman.
Hey, Nashville Rockers. Welcome to the episode 3 of the Nashville Rocks podcast. My name is Jason Coleman, and I'm your host. This episode is brought to you in part by ExtremeMeasuresHosting.com. Let's say you just met a great new contact in the music business, and the person says, "It's nice to meet you. I'd love to hear some of your music." Well, you're at a restaurant. You don't have a CD with you, so what do you say? What do you say? You say, go to my website, and I'm an awesomeartist.com. And check out my tracks, my photos, my downloads, links to my social, and more, right? Right? What, you don't have a website? Are you kidding me? That, my dear artists, is a killer. Go to the ExtremeMeasuresHosting.com and look for the right website name. Get that website and make sure you're prepared for your next music industry contact. That's ExtremeMeasuresHosting.com. Okay, let's get down to business. The Nashville Rocks podcast is intended to help independent musicians, bands, songwriters, and artists of all kinds with their craft and promotion. I'll be interviewing artists and music business types so that you can see into what makes an independent artist successful. And hopefully that will help you find some tricks and techniques to help you with your career. It's also intended as an entertainment show. We'll have great artists with great music. So tune in close and enjoy the show. Now make sure to stay listening because we're going to have some prizes to give away, and I want you to stay tuned, especially for that. My guest in this episode of the Nashville Rocks podcast is the beautiful and talented Miss Meghan Shanley. Meghan was a former Miss Virginia and moved to Nashville to pursue her music career. She's performed at the Ryman, the Wild Horse Saloon. She was featured on Fine Living Network's show, The Genuine Article, and has performed at the wedding of a reception of a certain Southern celebrity chef that was aired on the Food Network. The song she performed for that was called Here, and it's become a hit with brides nationwide. Meghan has been a performer in touring productions and has done her share of country music and other styles. Meghan now has recorded and released her new album, Ready for Love, and has been performing in support of that album. The style of the album is cabaret, soulful, jazzy, and defies genre. Please welcome to the show the lovely and talented Meghan Shanley.
Hello.
That's your cue.
I'm so blown away by that wonderful introduction.
You're just listening. I told you it was going to be a long spiel, didn't I?
It's great.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you took time out. I know you're out there trying to play gigs and find more and all that kind of thing. And I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
We've got 2 episodes in the till. This is our 3rd, so you're our 3rd episode, and I really appreciate it. So let's jump in. So you just had a gig just the other night.
I did. I had a gig on Friday night at Sambuca downtown in the Gulch.
Nice. And honestly, I have not been to that club, so you got to tell me. I know, I'm so uncool, it's not even funny. That's why I'm doing a podcast.
It's great. No, it's awesome. It's such a great venue. It has the vibe that my music has. And so it's just a really cool kind of a sultry place with just a really neat vibe. And you can hear live music 7 nights a week. And so wonderful food.
Is it set up for the stage performances, or is it more of a bar restaurant?
No, I mean, it's set up. It's really the only kind in Nashville that does live music 7 nights a week. And so you can have this fabulous dinner while you're listening to different artists.
That's a beautiful thing.
And so, yeah, it's pretty neat. You know, sometimes I usually play, it's about a 4-hour set. And so at the beginning, everybody's kind of just getting their food and, you know, you're kind of in the background like, oh, don't mind me. I'm just here singing.
That's right.
But it's really neat. And I played on a Friday, which I normally play during the week. But this Friday was really fun because it's just a totally different crowd. You know, everybody's celebrating the weekend and everybody wants to get up and dance. And so I had a blast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have people dancing in front of you. That's
gosh, yeah.
That's different than having like the stadium style crowd.
Yeah,
you know?
It is. You know, and it's cool because I enjoy that intimacy with the audience, and I get the chance to hop off the stage every once in a while and torture some people.
Nice. Sing to them.
Sing to them. Make them sing.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty great.
Tyler talked about that in the last episode. He sings to a girl. He calls him the gravity girl. He pulls a girl up at every show that allows him to do that. He said some venues don't let you pull somebody up on stage.
You know, I haven't really asked, so I should probably check in on that.
Right.
I'm just kind of doing it.
Or don't, the whole asking for permission or forgiveness thing.
Ask for forgiveness.
That's right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your singing a little bit. So did you start your singing when you were getting ready for the Miss Virginia talent thing, or were you singing before that?
No, I was, it's a really different story than what you normally hear with artists. So I grew up playing sports, and softball was like my big thing, and I just thought that's what I was going to do in college, and, that's how I would put myself through college. And so when I have two older sisters, and when I was about 12, my oldest sister competed in a Miss America preliminary pageant. And so, I sat in the audience and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. Anything my sisters did, I wanted to do. And so I remember thinking, I really want to do this when I'm old enough. So it was 17 was the first year I could compete. And I remember thinking, what am I going to do for a talent? I can't exactly bring a baseball bat up on stage. And I really wasn't sure. And so I knew that I had always known that I loved music. And, my mom says that when I was like 3, if we were in a department store and music was on, there was no stopping me from dancing. I was just always about the music. And so I tried singing, and I remember it was during the time that Shania Twain was out. Nice. And so I lock myself in my room and I'm playing The Woman in Me and I'm blaring it and I'm singing along to it while no one's home. And so I get to the point where I'm like, I don't think this is all that bad.
That's not so bad.
It's not so bad. And I wonder, is it just me maybe not hearing it right? And so of course, the one person you trust, your mom, I call her in and I'm
the
like...
most dangerous reference you can possibly ever have.
Oh, I know. And so I said, Mom, come in here, sit down on my bed, don't look at me. Whatever you do, don't watch me sing. And I'm going to sing something for you, and I want you to tell me your honest opinion. And so I sang for her, and when I finished, I looked at her, and she was staring at me in amazement. She was like, where did that come from? I had, you're my daughter. I had no idea you could do that.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I guess that's okay then,
my dad used to say, she can hold a tune in a bucket.
Yes. And my other sisters can't.
Right.
No, actually, my oldest sister's not so bad. She sang for her talent, and she was pretty great. So
moving you right along, how did the talent section go for you?
It went great.
Yeah.
I remember I picked out LeAnn Rimes' Blue.
Oh,
because I realized
that's perfect.
I kind of figured out I had the yodel ability. And I was like, oh, well, that's new. I'll try that. And I don't know what I was thinking, because that's a tough song for somebody who's just started singing. But I did it. And it went great. I mean,
awesome.
And I won the first pageant.
I wonder if you can find that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Pageant on YouTube somewhere.
Sure.
Folks, dig it up.
Talk about the dangerous reference. I'm sure Mama's got it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm dragging you through the coals here, but I guess that's what you signed up for.
It will probably surface. If this career goes as if I hope it will, it will probably
it will surface
on national television.
There you have it. So we met in a church that we both attended, and I was doing sound, and you've just got this talent, your singing talent. You can sing so many different genres of music. Was it hard to find your own voice, especially for this album, when you're so capable of singing LeAnn Rimes or, worship songs? Yeah,
absolutely. No, I mean, that's been the biggest challenge. I've been in Nashville for 12 years now, and honestly, it's a blessing and a curse to be able to sing so many different types of music. And, it's a blessing in that way that you can affect people in so many different ways, but then it's a curse because, this is the music business, and you do have to find your niche market, and you have to focus on that market. And so I think it's been challenging because, to put yourself in a box and actually define, this is who I am. Sometimes, you don't want to turn your back on the other types of music that you love. But so I think, for a while there, I was just kind of wandering, trying to figure out what exactly is it that resonates the most with my soul and my heart. Right. And so I came about the sound of this album because at that same church, I met Craig Carter, who was the worship leader, and he and I just became great friends. And, he believed in me and actually pulled me aside and said, I believe in you so much that I want to see you do more with this talent that God's given you. So, he was like, tell me what some of your challenges are. How can I help? And at the time, I wanted to start playing out live more. But, getting a band and keeping a band together in this town especially is
when they're all hired hitmen for the most part. Oh, my gosh,
yeah. And they'll say yes. And, a $1,000 gig comes along, and I don't blame them, but they have to go. And so that was my biggest challenge. And
Music City Mercenaries.
Yeah, really. Seriously. And he put a band together, and that was that. That was kind of the start of it. So that was about 5 or 6 years ago. And he's been playing behind me ever since. And I think just the friendship and then the history in the music together, he had such a strong vision for where my music should be going. And he said, I know what you do well. I know what you don't do well. I know where you really shine, and I want to help you produce this project.
And we may come back to him because I've got some other questions around that.
Sure, yeah.
That's focused there.
Okay.
I think you have a very crisp and clean vocal style. You may disagree with me. That's totally cool.
No.
And your tunes really accentuate that, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that sets you apart from other artists right now?
I think the sound that we've come out with on this CD, a lot of times people hear it and they're like, man, I love it. What is it? What would you call it? What would you, everybody's about defining everything. And so
everybody's got to put you in a box.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think what makes me different is that it's such a combination of so many influences. And
it's cabaret, soulful, jazzy.
It sure is.
And defies genre.
It does. And so I think what's different about it is, for the first 10 years or so that I was here, I did what every other artist does when they move to town, and you try and play by the rules of Nashville. You try and figure out what is it that everybody wants to hear. And right now, I'm at the most content place in my musical career because I wanted to produce and put this album out because I believed in it and because I felt like finally this is home for me, sound-wise. And so I think it's different because it does kind of harken back to the days of the Frank Sinatra singers and the, like Al Green and Marvin Gaye. But then you still have influences from today like Bruno Mars and, Stevie Wonder's in there. And so I think what makes me different is I'm definitely not trying to play by anybody's rules anymore. And,
make your own rules.
Make my own rules.
That's
and
right.
And hopefully that, that authenticity is going to resonate with people. So
that's an inspiring answer, actually.
Well, thanks.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break and check out a track by Meghan Shanley. This is Better Left Unsaid.
We spend so much time waiting for the words, thinking it'll finally ease our mind. But if you're finding this love's kinda hard to say, then don't go wasting time. Just keep on telling me. Say the words in your kiss and touch me the way I can't resist. Don't say you love me, baby, show me instead. Just take it slow, baby, trust me. Some love is better left unsaid. This is sweeter than I've ever heard. So just keep on telling me. Say the words in your kiss and touch me the way you know I can't resist. Don't say you love me, baby. Show me instead. Just take it slow, baby. Trust me, I know some love is better left unsaid. Baby, don't worry, there's no need to hurry. Let this moment speak louder than words. Baby, just hold me. Yeah, we can take it slowly. The way you're loving me is sweeter than anything I've ever heard. So just keep on telling me. You touch me the way. Don't say you love me, baby. Show me instead. Just take it slow, baby. Trust me, I know some love is better left unsaid. Don't say a word, don't say a word.
All right, and we're back with more from Meghan Shanley on the Nashville Rocks podcast, and that was Better Left Unsaid. Soulful,
Yes.
yes, and dynamic,
Well, yeah,
yes,
of course.
absolutely. I love the background singers in that one. That was really
Thank you.
sweet.
Yeah, that's really, they're a lot of fun.
All right, so I'm going to just jump back into these music business questions. So you've performed in traveling productions of all kinds. Can you give? Literally. And you know what I'm imagining when I read your
man.
bio and I'm imagining this.
Yeah.
I used to know folks that performed at Opryland. And they were just dynamic folks. They could go and perform on
Yeah.
this stage show, and then they could go over here for a totally different subject matter and perform on this stage show. They were just
Yeah.
like production singers, you know, and they could go and do anything. And that's the first thing that came to my mind. Is that what it is? Or give us a taste of not only what that means to be part of a production show that moves around,
Yeah.
but what it's like to be a part of that part of the music industry.
Well, you know, I really, really enjoy it because I've always some of my favorite moments on stage are like when the magic happens between the band and you. So Friday night, the gig that we were talking about at Sambuca, this particular combination of players, we had never played all together. We'd never got a rehearsal in. I mean, I had played with two of the players before, and the other players came super highly recommended. And at this point, my kind of community of musicians, if they say they're good, they're good.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's just typical Nashville. Like you get them the music 2 weeks in
Yeah, it's like,
advance.
you know the numbers? Yeah.
Yeah, you get them. Here's
Not with
the
a
thing.
New York accent.
You-
Well, some of them have
some
a
of
New
them
York
do.
accent. These days, everybody's moving from New York to Nashville.
So you get them the music 2 weeks in advance, and chances are they open it. They open the file 2 days before the gig.
You know that's right.
And you know you're at home as the singer. You're like just deep breathing. It'll be fine.
They've got it.
But no, I mean
they're
like
professionals.
it was. You know, some really really cool moments happened on Friday night, and so. My favorite part about it, and this might come from my, athletic upbringing, I like the team aspect of it. So in these production shows, and boy, you're not kidding, I did everything from, I did an ABBA show. It was called Dancing Queen.
Nice.
So I spent an entire summer in platform boots and hot pants.
I was going to say, did you wear spandex?
Oh my gosh,
Nice.
yes. Yeah, I remember when they were bringing in, like, the wardrobing team came in for the first day, and they were bringing all the costumes in, and this one girl hands me something, and I said, "Oh, I didn't ask for a tissue," and she was like, "Honey, that's your
you're wearing
outfit,"
that.
and I was like, "We need to add some materials," in there. And they did, but
Nice.
no, I think it's just it was so much fun, you know. There's something about being a part of a cast and that feeling when you work for weeks rehearsing it, and then you have these shows that are just, it's just such a team effort, and it's really cool to be a part of.
Nice.
So yeah, I've done an ABBA show. I did a kind of like the Hits of Broadway show. I did a Christmas show. I did a 50s show. Well, that was really cool to be a part of because, you know,
How do you get your claws into something like that? Or did you get shoved into it? Were you voluntold?
No, voluntold. You know, this is kind of a really neat story. So being in Nashville for as long as I have been, I've gone through the kind of the ups and downs of the music business. And, you know, you go through 2 years of like hitting it hard. And then for me, I got so burned out on the politics and the game of Nashville, that I kind of found myself retreating every couple of years. And it never failed that God brought someone into my life, you know, during those times that I just felt like I had hit rock bottom in the music career. And he would bring someone into my life that would just kind of breathe new life into believing in myself. And he would bring someone along that would just say, look, you can't give up. You know, you're too talented. You've been blessed with this ability. And so I had been working a job that I wasn't really happy in, and it was just like a normal sales job. But I was miserable because it's not what I was wired to do. And I was thinking, you know, why am I in Nashville away from my family and my friends? And I'm not even doing what I came here to do. So one of these people that had been brought into my life had really kind of given me the confidence to say, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I knew I was never going to be homeless. I have too many people that love me. I was never going to be, you know, the worst things that I could imagine weren't going to happen. And so I up and quit my job with nothing in the future. And that same week, I got an email from a friend who works on Music Row and publishing. And he said, hey, there's this Canadian producer, and he's going to be in town casting for a production show. And it was a show called Country Classics. Nice. And so I found out about it the day before the audition. I didn't even have a clear picture of what the audition was for. So I didn't have time to get nervous and do all the mind games that we all do, you know, with auditions. And so I went in and I just sang. I sang off of my country.
So you came into it as a singer, though.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, not a dancer.
Well,
you don't want to see that.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, yeah.
So, the thing I'm thinking is, were they drama shows with singing or?
No, they were all music shows. So like this country classics was a 90-minute show.
But you still have to hit a mark, right? Somewhere.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. So there's some choreography.
Yeah,
and
there's
to
still theatrical aspects.
Right,
I mean,
okay.
it's and there was a script.
They're not going out looking for actors who can sing. They're going out looking for singers.
Yeah, singers who can hit their mark.
Yeah.
And then some of the other shows I got from that show, I got seen by another production company, and that company was more dance/singing. And so it's funny, the choreographers would always say, so are you a singer that can move or a dancer that can sing? And I said, I would always go, you need to know, if you want me to learn something, you need to double the time for choreography, because I can do it, but it's going to take me forever.
Right.
So I'm definitely a singer that can move.
There you have it. All right, so you're writing your own stuff. You've recorded, and now you're performing in support of what you've recorded. What has that I'll say minute, I know it's not, but in your singing career, it's kind of minute, this one album.
Yeah.
What has that journey been like just for this album as you look back, like hindsight being 2020?
Oh my gosh. Well, I used to say, you know, throughout all the ups and downs, I used to say, all I want to be able to say is that I recorded a project that I 110% believed in, you know, and was able to say, here's this CD, this is my sound, this is me. Because I went through so many years of wondering, am I supposed to go this direction, that direction, what am I supposed to do? And so
You're in Nashville, you got to sing country.
Yeah, and
Not
and I did for a little while. I did go down that road, and when I first started singing, obviously I said I was singing with Shania Twain and then Patsy Cline, and so it just seemed the logical way to go. But I think having gotten such a late start in my career, it's taken me all these years that I've been here to work with different musicians and really do some soul searching and figure out what is it that really it really gets me. So just this is such a huge point in my career for me to be able to say I finally found it, and I finally settled on it. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to change. One of my favorite bands is Maroon 5, and they're constantly reinventing themselves.
Right.
And I think you have to do that to keep a healthy career.
They do that to keep themselves from being bored as musicians as well.
Probably so. I mean, but music evolves. It's an art. It's not stagnant. It's going to change. You change through the years, so what you produce in your music should change with that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I foresee many albums down the road that have different, not crazy different sounds. My voice isn't going to change, hopefully.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think, your influences change, your feelings change, what you're going through in life is huge. And so I think your music should reflect that.
Nice. So. Okay. Well, I've often said, and it's been said by more talented people than me, that this industry is about your willingness to network and create relationships. And we've kind of hit on that a little bit already. But tell us about some of the critical relationships that you've made that have helped you become more successful.
Well, for me personally, I can remember the first year I moved to town, and I would go to any networking event, songwriters nights, anything. I didn't move here as a songwriter, and it's still, I mean, I'll be honest, it's still something that I have to work really hard at finding the confidence for, because I'm not a lifelong musician. It's something that it's a gift, just like being able to sing or being able to have an athletic ability. Songwriting is a gift, and not everybody has that. And the stories about I wrote this on a cocktail napkin in 10 minutes. Right, yeah. I want to strangle those people. Right. Because
sometimes it does flow out like that. But that's not your typical.
Right. And that's not my ability. My passion is the performance in front of the audience and the translation of that music to the audience. But that talent needs to be respected just as much as what you see and hear on the radio. And so I don't even remember the question you asked me, but I went off on that. Networking. Talking
about relationships, the critical relationships that really make the difference.
I found it hard since, I was kind of intimidated by the whole songwriting community of Nashville. I didn't really have the outlet to say, hey, let's get together and write or whatever. I mean, I'm sure I could have. That was kind of a self-imposed thing, but
on a cocktail napkin.
Let's write on a cocktail napkin. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so, but so many of my connections today, I can look back and they came from those times of going out. And I met Bob, who knows Joe, who knows Sarah. It's like and
now you and Sarah are co-writing or whatever.
Right. It's such a domino effect. And, it's true what they say. Nashville is such a big, small town, or small, big, whatever they say. But, it's
Music City. That's what
it's you get the feel of a small town after you've been here a couple of years, because I look at my community and my friends who are musicians in my kind of inner circle, and I stand in awe of being among them. And I think back so often to the first couple of years I was here, and I was just kind of wandering aimlessly. But you have to do an amount of that, you have to. And I'm just grateful for having these people in my life and for having them feel that I'm worthy enough to be a part of their circle.
These relationships make a big difference.
Yeah. And, for me, a lot of it has been working with different musicians have pulled different things out of me vocally and different confidences that I, struggled with, that I didn't even maybe know I was struggling with. So just don't ever, to up-and-coming artists, I would say, don't ever limit yourself. Don't ever... Always keep an open mind, because, you may think, I'm not going to go to that show, or I'm not going to write with so-and-so. Or I think for me, I had to realize that not every incident is going to be a home run, or not every song is going to be a hit. And you have to not be afraid of just trying anyway, because you just really never know who you're going to meet or who you're going to bump into or what will lead to something down the road. It's such a domino effect. So
you mentioned in that some of these people have pulled something out of you vocally. I want to hit just the vocal part for a second, because I mentioned earlier, I think you've got a really crisp and clean vocal style. What do you do with your voice? Do you how do you train yourself? Do you rehearse a certain way? Do you have specific warm-ups for your vocals? I think you'd be a good source for some of the folks out there who really need singing lessons. I'm just saying, to take cues from, to how you train your voice, how you keep it at a specific level, and how you warm up before a show. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I can put it out there that I'm not as disciplined as I should be. There's always more that you could do. I didn't grow up taking singing lessons, and so these past years have been me getting to know my voice and trying something, kind of going back to what I said earlier. It's all about not being afraid to try something. And, I think there were probably songs that I wouldn't attempt because I was intimidated or scared, like, oh, I can't pull that off, and guess what? You may not be able to, but you may find something along the way that, oh, well, I like that part of the song. Let me try such and such. And so it's, I mean, there are definitely, I'm getting better at it now. I'm working with an amazing voice coach who, his whole thing is
you can mention
his name is Dave Brooks, and he has a company called Dave Brooks Artist Development. And just his whole method is, it's the way to really know your voice, and anatomically, like, understand what's going on with your vocal cords. And in that, some of the dangerous ways of singing, like for 4 hours, if you're singing and you're singing all out, you're going to have a shredded voice the next morning, which I've had. And he teaches you ways to conserve, to be smart, he also teaches you ways, like, there's parts of my voice, I think, in my range that I still haven't nailed, that I know are there, but I'm not, it's a lot to do with coordination, when in his method. And that's, I don't think when I first started, I didn't want to do lessons because I didn't want.
You didn't want to admit you needed them?
Well, no. Boy, did I. But no, I didn't want it to be this scientific thing. Like, for me, music's always been such a heart thing, and I didn't want it to be like more of a head thing. Yeah. And so, and for me at that point, when I heard voice lessons, I always thought classical or
exactly.
And I didn't want anybody to get a hold of my voice and turn it into something that, was not the direction I wanted to go.
Right.
But it's super important if you're an artist that's planning to be on the road regularly. You have to know how to conserve your voice, because you can't be out there singing 4 nights a week and singing the wrong way without ruining your voice.
Wear yourself out.
Yeah. And I have friends that have had, like, the whole vocal nodules and surgery, and that scares the butt out of me.
Yeah, that's
Fill in the blank.
Well, I've heard so often from vocal coaches that they say you have to treat your voice like an instrument.
It is.
If you've seen some of these guitar players in town, if you get anywhere near, their girlfriend.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm talking about their guitar.
Yes.
You better watch yourself.
It was funny. At the gig the other night, I thought I saw out of the corner of my eye, I thought my bass player's bass was falling over. And I guess it was just the way the light hit it. And I think I jumped, and he saw me react to the bass falling over, and it was like someone had been run over by a car. Like, he was, like, running to it, and I was like, okay, it's all good.
Yeah, it's okay, man. Give her a little stroke. You're all right.
Oh, it was funny.
But Music City.
But yeah, no, I think still getting to know your voice. It's again, it's an ever evolving thing.
So what do you do right before you go on? Do you do any kind of warm up?
Yeah, I do warm ups that I don't allow any human being to hear. I mean, they're just silly, But there's just a lot of
flapping your cheeks and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, this is serious business.
Kind
folks.
of, yeah. Like there's the lip roll, like you're talking about, the brrr, you know, that kind of thing. You know what's really important that I've realized lately? Any kind of physical exercise is super important to me. Like to get out and jog for 30 minutes, get that blood flow in, and so that's super important to me. Like, you know, before I start getting ready for the gig, and just, you know, what they call vocalizing, just making sure you do it at a not too much. You do it little by little throughout the day, and I don't do too much the day of because you don't want to wear yourself out.
Right.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Vocal tips from Meghan Shanley, folks.
There you have it.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Meghan Shanley. Are you an artist without a music video? Then step up to the plate and send an email to info@nashvillerocks.com for more information. You can have a music video, and it's more affordable than you might think. Every artist deserves and needs a music video for promotion, electronic press kits, and branding. Don't be caught without one. Email info@nashvillerocks.com with the subject line, video. All right, we're back with more Meghan Shanley. You can find out more about her on the Nashville Rocks website. So after you hear the show, make sure to follow up and find out more about her there. Let's talk songwriting. What does a day look like when you're in songwriting mode?
Well, it takes a lot more discipline than you would think, and I'm not the best at that. You know, for me, I sit down. It's funny, like today I sat down I'm still trying to learn how to play piano. So I'm trying to learn, you know, basically the songs off of my CD. And so I sit down and I play that for a little bit. And then I might make a mistake and play a chord and I'll go, oh, that's kind of cool the way that progresses. And then from there, I'm like trying to figure out what melody would I sing to that. And then from there, I stop and think, well, what do I have to say? Like, what do I want to say? You know, type of thing. So it's something I'm trying to get better at making myself do every day. I worked with a wonderful songwriting coach who was at the church we went to, Mark Colley. And he's just really great, works with young...
I'll plug him, iDoCoach.com.
I Do Coach, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's just awesome. He's got so many years in the music industry and is such a wonderful, inspiring coach for young writers. And
nice.
And yeah, so that's awesome. Really, I mean, it's not...
Now, okay, so specifically, you get in there... Of course, now that you're learning piano, you hit a couple of keys and you're like, that's inspiring. You start writing around that, even if it was a bad key. Yeah. What about before you were picking up piano? What did you do then?
Well, I mean, you know, I haven't written as much as I should. Like I would write with, you know, it was weird. Every time I wrote, it seemed like I wrote something that would fit country. So I've never really captured the writing and the style that I'm doing now. So
is a lot of what you got on here is co-written?
Mm-hmm.
So that you've got some of that influence? Actually,
a lot of most of the producers wrote most of the songs on here. I co-wrote on a couple. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's something that I'm working on doing more of. It is my job, so I'm trying to be more disciplined at it.
Absolutely.
And again, like you never know when you're just writing out lines.
Being a musician is your job, people.
Yeah. So I mean, you wouldn't not show up to your job or whatever. So as much as it's a passion and it's from your heart, it's still something that takes work. And I'll be the first to say I'm still working on getting that discipline there because again. I'm fully aware of what my forte is, and that's performing and singing and interpreting, I guess you'd say. But I know that ability is in there, and it's just a matter of working with the right co-writers to pull that out. So I think right now my focus is really trying to sit every day and come up with, even if it's just a small melody in my head or a couple lines. You know, I started writing today.
And, of course, my phone goes off during an interview. After I said, turn your phones off.
Awesome.
I'm leaving it in the show. I don't care.
I think you should.
Songwriting. So let me take a little side note to that. Yeah. How does, when you're doing your songwriting and you also have co-writers. You've got producers that are influencing your songwriting. You obviously more than likely wrote more songs for the album than made it on the album. How do, in your world, how does a song make a cut?
Mm-hmm. Well,
what hit the floor? Actually, what didn't hit the floor?
Well, this is actually this was a really different process than what normally happens. Like I recorded a CD when I was kind of taking my walk down the country road, and there was a lot of meeting with publishers and listening to tons of CDs and just really trying to find what worked and resonated. And this project was written, these producers wrote specifically for me. And these were musicians who have worked with me for years. And so there was tweaking, but there wasn't ever anything that was...
I wouldn't say that, or that kind of thing? Or?
Well, there was only one song where... It makes me laugh because it was an ongoing battle.
A little nasty, maybe?
Well, no. It was the song that you love so much, Shake It.
Yeah.
And we laughed and laughed.
Now you're going to make me have to play Shake It.
Well, in the studio, we laughed because there's a line that says, "This party's poppin'." And I was like, I've never said that in my entire life. But we laughed a lot about that. Like, so now whenever we walk in somewhere, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, this party's poppin'."
That's right. Now you've said it several times and you can own it.
I have.
That's right.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, let's see where we are. We're going to check out another track from you, and it's called One Day. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, let's talk about the story behind One Day.
So One Day came about, I talked about Craig Carter earlier, and he got the inspiration for this song. He has this beautiful daughter who I think at the time was maybe 3 years old, and she said something one day that just kind of blew him away. He was just like, oh, she's just brilliant. And he just looked at her and said, you know what? One day you're going to rule the world. And so it was a song that was kind of born out of a statement, to and for his daughter. And it really... It talks about the challenges that we all face in life. I mean, mostly, young women a lot of time face just self-confidence issues and things like that. But we as a whole are always like, am I doing it right? Am I going down the right path? Am I doing what I should be doing? And I think so many times we wish our life away because we keep thinking, well, when I finally get that job, or when I finally meet that person, or finally get that hit record, that's when my life is going to begin. And I think this song is about, keep your head up, keep trucking, keep believing in yourself that you are specially made, that God made you for a special purpose. Just because you haven't found it doesn't mean that it's not there. And the time that it takes for you to find that purpose is all a part of the journey. So, it's just one day when you're ready, your destiny will find you. That's the line in there. And so it's important to me. I have 3 nieces and 2 nephews now. And so that message is so important because, you're destined for great things. And just because it's not happened yet, and trust me, as I'm saying these things, I have to remember to hear them again myself and let that set in, because this is a challenging road to be on, to have music you believe in so much and you just want to get out there and play it for everybody. And there are struggles and challenges. And I think it's just a great message for everybody.
Absolutely. Great story. This is One Day from Meghan Shanley.
Just what your life is all about. Keep on dancing and never doubt, because one day when you're ready, your destiny will be there, waiting to dance with you. It'll all come true on that one day when you're ready. so beautiful. Oh, yes, you are. Hey, you, nothing can hold you down. And don't you ever stop believing your time will come around. Oh, no, don't think you have to figure out just what your life is all about. Keep on dancing and never doubt, because one day when you're ready, your destiny will be there, waiting to dance with you. It'll all come true on that one day when you're ready. Look up and it'll be there. So do what you gotta do, but just stay true to you. Dare you to keep it straight. Fight hard to walk that line. Promise to keep the faith. Can't wait to see you shine. You'll take over the world one day. I promise you one day when you're ready, your destiny will be there, waiting to dance with you. It'll all come true on that one day when you're ready. Look up and it'll be there. So do what you gotta do, but just stay true to you. One day when you're ready, your destiny will be there, waiting to dance with you. It'll all come true on that one day when you're ready. Look up and it'll be there. So do what you gotta do, but just stay true to you. Just stay true to you. I'm telling you one day. I'm telling you one day. Yeah, just stay true to you. Yeah, just stay true to you. Yeah, just stay true to you.
Awesome. Thanks for listening to the Nashville Rocks podcast. We're hanging out with Meghan Shanley, and that was One Day.
What's up?
What's up? One day. Is it as tough as they say to be an independent artist?
Oh my gosh, yeah. You know, it's tough because it's double-sided, because you're happy because you're doing the music that you believe in, but you're eating ramen noodles.
Yes.
No, I'm
Yes.
kidding. I've been very blessed to.
I've often said it's kind of like a roller coaster. From all the independents that I know, it's 1 week you're eating
It
Sizzler,
is.
and
Oh my
the next
gosh.
week you're eating ramen noodles.
So wait, are you saying Sizzler's like the top?
I kind of was. Got to change that.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that.
We're gonna go Ruth Chris.
We're gonna go to Sambuca.
Sambuca. Okay. I can get with that.
Oh
gotta
man,
change
yeah,
my
no,
little
it is.
saying
It's
about it.
definitely. It's so up and down, and you kind of just learn to roll with it. And there's, yeah, I mean, but your fans, the fans that you do get, it's almost like when you're a kid and you pay for something, you save up all your money and you pay for it, so you appreciate it so much more. When you do it like this, you know, I kind of I was thinking earlier today, like the whole like booking process and just trying to build a following. It's kind of like, you know, trying to dig your way out of a cave with a tablespoon.
Right.
I mean, it's little by little, but those people that you do, your fans that you do get, you just appreciate them so much.
Absolutely.
And you're so grateful for them. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, I imagine there's artists out there who think, I just need help getting this thing done. Mm-hmm. What kind of people, now we've talked about some of the people in your lives, but what kind of people, as far as like the position or the job that they do for you, what kind of people do you need around you as an independent artist to help make you successful?
Well, I mean, I've been really lucky and blessed to have, you know, like I said, for 12 years, I kind of did it all on my own. The first couple of years in, I did come in contact with a company. It was a production, basically a developmental deal that I signed. And so it was one of those things where they signed you as an artist and they took care of all the cost of the recording, but of course they recoup that, you know, at the end. And so
Cross collateralization. Look that up, folks.
So I was warned so many times, don't ever pay anybody anything up front. You're told that thing when you move to Nashville, and you're right, you shouldn't. I mean, you have to be so careful, because I waded through a lot of sharks when I first moved here, and I think that's why I'm so grateful to have the people in my life now, because I dealt with a lot of that scary stuff. And but I've been really lucky. I have an investor that came into the picture and was like, I believe in you so much that the world has to hear you. And so that's what made this record possible.
An investor.
Yeah. So that's always key.
But you create a relationship with that person way before they become an investor, right?
Well, and that came from me performing live. You've got to put yourself out there. Nobody's going to come looking for you. Nobody's going to find you. You have got to put yourself out there.
Right.
And even if it's in cases that you, again, like, there are nights when you're like, oh, this is a really long gig, and sometimes the audience doesn't give a squat that you're up there playing, and
they're just eating their dinner.
They're eating their prime rib, and they're on a first date, which I did. I actually did experience a first date, like at the first table from the stage, and I turned around to the guys. I was like, this is not going well for him.
Yeah, goodness gracious.
But no, it's just all about putting yourself out there, because once again, I mean, I know I say this a lot, but you never know, especially in this town, you never know who's going to be in the audience. You just never know who's going to come up and go, hey, you know what? We're having a corporate party in a couple weeks and we need a band. You want to play?
Yeah.
And again, it's the domino effect. And so,
I think the theme of this show might just be networking.
It might be. It might be.
How we talked about keeping your voice in crystal clear condition.
As I clear it.
Yeah. Well, there's probably a lot of that on my mic too. What are you going to do? How do you maintain your attitude, keep yourself lifted up, and keep yourself positive? Because we were talking about earlier how, when you're booking and you're digging out with a spoon and all these other things that are difficult. There's a lot of difficulties that go along with promoting a new album and booking gigs and all that. How do you raise yourself?
I think it's really funny. It's the timing of this interview is really funny, because I mean, I like to be fully honest and open with everybody and my fans and friends. Yesterday was a tough day, because I mean, I spent several days making phone calls, and you're trying to get booked in places and venues and events that you think would be the right group of people for this music. And they turn around and go, well, who is this girl? How many seats is she going to fill? And how do we know? And well, I'm trying to build a following. That's the whole point of playing out. So It's the whole chicken or the egg thing, And I think
the independent struggle.
Yeah, I think the biggest rule to remember is that you're not above anything. And so at this point, I'm like, I don't care where I play, as long as there's 5 people that are listening and digging the music. I'm happy.
Right.
I'm not. And I think it's a struggle too when you have, a band that you have to pay for getting them on the road too.
Yeah, and it's easy to kind of take the negative attitude. That's the reason why I asked that question, because it's easy to say, well, we played and there was 5 people there and it was just another glorified rehearsal.
Well, here's the deal. For me, and I got to a point, I was really battling nerves when I was in those production shows, because like every move and every note is under a microscope. It's not like these kind of gigs that I do for 4 hours where you get up and you just let magic happen. It's a very scripted, choreographed thing. And so
they know exactly where that note's going to happen.
Yeah. And if you miss your mark. And so, I mean, I was dealing with nerves that I really hadn't dealt with before.
Right.
And it kind of dawned on me, I mean, my faith is very, very important to me. And God gave me this ability for a reason. And I want to make sure that I use it in a way that's going to glorify him. And I think that's definitely hard to keep in the forefront too, because it's such a me industry. Like you're pushing yourself and you're promoting yourself, and it's definitely, I have found that it's hard to, as a Christian to feel like you're not being boastful and stuff like that. Right. You know what I mean? Like that's a real balance. Yourself. You do. But I got to a point where I was like, I don't have to do this. I get to do this.
Right.
And so I read a book. I can't remember what the book was, but it was about a singer in the 90s who came up and her whole kind of rise and fall. And she said something that was so poignant to me, that if my gig on Friday was the last gig I ever got to play, like God forbid something happened, I was in an accident and I couldn't use my voice or whatever, would I have laid it all out there? And so that's kind of where I think about that. Like
That's awesome.
I get my fix from performing, and so I don't care if it's in front of 5 or 5,000. And so, like I get to do it. And I think that's the main thing. Like it's all about perspective when you look at it that way. And so, and the other thing, as far as like when I have a down day, at the end of the day, I know if God wants me somewhere, he's going to put me somewhere. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter what record executives say. If he wants it, then he wants it, and it's going to happen. So just kind of keep your head up and your eyes on him, and,
Well, she's leaving it all out there, folks. And we're going to check out
Amen.
That's right. The title track for the album, Ready for Love. This is Meghan Shanley with Ready for Love.
Escape the way I feel inside. You've been playing games with these feelings. Now we know they won't be denied. 'Cause baby, you got me wondering, could this be what I need? You just have to let me know. Are you ready for love? See you do the things you do, baby. You've got me wondering, could this be what I need? You just have to let me know. Are you ready for love, baby? Ready for love, baby. Now's the time. Ready for more.
All right, folks, we're back. This is the Nashville Rocks Podcast, and we're hanging out with Meghan Shanley, and she's just released her new album, Ready for Love. Why is Ready for Love the title track? What about that specific song defines this album?
I think it is just a really good umbrella song to kind of cover the whole theme and feel of the record. It's such a feel-good song. It gets stuck in your head. You know that. You sat down humming it. It's just I don't know. It's I think it was just a good entree into And I don't mean like a Sizzler entree.
Okay. That's right. It's got to be Sambuca now. I forget.
I mean, like, this is like this is who I am, people. This is me as an artist. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I love to ask the typical podcast questions. I listen to a
Okay.
lot of podcasts in the business realm, and it's typical. Just trust me. Okay. She's not a podcast fan, folks.
Well, it's not that I'm not a fan. I'm just not as experienced.
So in that, if you have no press kit, if you have don't have the right people around you, if you don't have any recordings yet, if you still want to be a performing artist, what would you do if you had to start all over from scratch again?
Oh, well, again, networking number one. I would say surrounding yourself with the right musicians as early on as possible. And it, it's different because I didn't come into it as a musician. So I had to align myself with those right people. But still, like, you never know what other musicians and artists are going to pull things out of you. So that's the biggest thing is getting out there, working with different people. Really, you cast a wide net basically, so that you can kind of filter what works and what doesn't. But I mean, people have been discovered just with a guitar on a YouTube video.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
again, don't let what people say limit you. Just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be.
Right.
So
What is a piece of critical information that you wished someone had told you when you first got started about the music business that you wish they would have told you years ago?
Oh, well, I can say this, and my mother's going to love this. So she put me in piano lessons when I was like 8, and I begged her to let me quit because I was like, I don't want to sit here and practice. I want to go play baseball.
That's right.
And I did, and she said, one day you're going to regret this. And I said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Holy moly. I could be
Nice.
like, I mean,
Nice.
ugh. So anyway, I would say don't fight your parents if they tell you. But other than that,
Learn an instrument.
learn an instrument
Early.
very early as possible. Right. So, I mean, I had a wonderful childhood, and I don't, I wasn't like stuck.
That's a great piece of advice, though. It really is.
It would be mine because it helps you. Like, instead of me flying up to Chicago and doing a piano vocal gig by myself, I now have to pay for an instrumentalist or something.
You're getting there. Well, I want to be at the first piano bar show that you do.
Well, you better have 3 drinks before I start playing.
I always have 3 drinks before anybody plays. No. Sure I do. No, I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think a lot of, besides that, I'd say it's just don't believe what everyone hears. Like, the music business can get ugly at times. Like, music is an art that comes from someone's soul, and to try and compartmentalize and put it in a box and say that this is what it's supposed to be turns it into something that's just not as pure as it was meant to be. Mm-hmm. So just don't turn yourself into something that people tell you you're supposed to be in order to be on the radio.
That's the second time we've heard that, folks. That's good information. All right, how do we find out more about Meghan Shanley? Now, I'm going to put up a profile for you on the site so you can check out some of Meghan Shanley's information there at NashvilleRocks.com. But where else can we find you?
You can go to my website, www.meganshanley.com. And of course,
Meghan is M-E-G-H-A-N.
I was going to say, of course, my parents made it tough on me. It's Meghan.
Meghan. Yes.
So you can check out the website. There's a couple of videos. We had some really cool videos done. And so there's like a Meet Meghan, and it's kind of an electronic press kit video that helps people get to know who I am as a person and kind of know a little bit more about where the music came from.
It's on your site,
on my site, but it goes to YouTube. Yeah.
And you have social
media. Yep. I've got a fan page on Facebook, and I think it's Meghan Shanley Music, maybe.
Okay. The links will be in the show notes, folks.
Yes, and I think you can reach it. You can reach all of those from my website,
Nice.
And Twitter, and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Meghan, thank you so much for being a part of the Nashville
Thanks
Rocks
for having
podcast.
me. This was fun.
I've had a blast. I've hoped that we've provided some good information for the other independent artists out there, to help them with their career. I really dig the new tunes.
Thank you.
knowing where you've come
They're
from.
a lot of fun to perform live, so
Yes,
hopefully I will
bet.
get to hear it and see it soon.
We look forward to hearing more from you and about your songs and what you're up to in the near future as well. Please come back and share more with us.
Will do,
Awesome.
for sure.
All right, as we said, we're going to give away some Meghan Shanley tunes from her new album. So here's what you do. Go to NashvilleRocks.com and sign up for our newsletter. Every newsletter subscription that comes in will be an entry into the contest. Now, don't go and sign up a bunch of times. We'll be watching out for that. If you don't care about the newsletter, then just send an email to info@NashvilleRocks.com with the subject line Meghan Shanley, and we will put you in a drawing for one of those discs. All right, that's the show, folks. Thank you so much for listening to the Nashville Rocks podcast. Join us next time when we have another exciting guest. Goodbye, and God bless.